rights. Macron meets presidents of Guinea and Senegal and Mauritania. Tow an iceberg plan to save Cape Town from drought. U.S. congressional delegation arrive in Moscow. U.S. workers fear steel tariffs could be nailed in the coffin. Plus, Japan's summer festival arrives in Tampa, Florida. Hello everyone, I am Sarah Nachman bringing you stories from around the globe. And this is Eagle News, Washington, D.C. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres pushes the Myanmar government to recognize the rights of Rohingya refugees to pave the way for potentials of future returns, following his visit to the vast Rohingya refugee camps in Bangladesh.
The UNDP and UNHCR tried to force the government of Myanmar to recognize an ember and rights to pave the way for a potential future return. So it is like that it must be considered, not as a final agreement on return or anything of this. It's a long road, but every road starts with a third step. And this is the kind of concession that was possible to obtain at the present moment from Myanmar. Let's test the sincerity of this concession.
Guterres said he heard unimaginable accounts of atrocities during a visit Monday to Bangladesh refugee camps and called for Myanmar to be held responsible for crimes against the Rohingya. Guterres described the situation for the persecuted Muslim minority as a humanitarian and human rights nightmare before touring makeshift shelters crammed with people who escaped a huge Myanmar army operation last year that the UN has likened to ethnic cleansing. The UN chief heard harrowing testimony of rape and violence from refugees living in the crowded camps, where nearly 1 million Rohingya have sought refuge from successive waves of violence in Myanmar. Guterres told reporters in Kutupalong camp, the world's largest refugee settlement, it's probably one of the most tragic historic systematic violations of human rights. He said, sometimes people tend to forget who is responsible for what happened. So let's be clear where the responsibility is. It is in Myanmar. But it's true the whole international community was not able to stop it. The responsibilities of the crime committed in Myanmar need to be attributed to those who committed those crimes. Guterres said the level of unparalleled suffering created an obligation to put pressure on Myanmar for the situation to change there. The bulk of the Rohingya in Bangladesh, or some 700,000 people, flooded across the border last August to escape the violence. While he attends the African Union summit, French President Emmanuel Macron is holding bilateral meetings with his counterparts Macky Sall of Senegal and Alpha Condé of Guinea-Conakry. Macron joined African leaders gathered in the Mauritanian capital on the final evening of a summit overshadowed by security issues after jihadist rebels hammered two fragile Sahel states in successive attacks. Macron held separate talks with the leaders of a five-nation African anti-terror unit backed by France to discuss financial and security hurdles the G5 Sahel forces faces. 5 separate attacks in Mali and neighboring Niger have killed 25 people since Friday. Macron said on the sidelines of a 2-day African Union summit, he reaffirms the commitment of France and all G5 Sahel member countries to fight obscurantism, cowardice, whose first victims are Africans themselves. As the summit opened on Sunday in Nouakchott, a bomb aimed at French soldiers in Mali's troubled north killed 4 civilians and injured over 20 people. 4 soldiers were among the wounded. In Niger, Boko Haram insurgents targeted a military position in the southeast, killing 10 soldiers, a reminder of the peril that Nigeria's notorious jihadists pose to the neighboring countries. On Friday, a suicide bombing hit the headquarters of the G5 Sahel in central Mali, fueling concerns about its ability to tackle jihadist groups roaming the region. It was the first attack on the headquarters of the force, set up with French backing in 2017 to fight jihadist insurgents and criminal groups in the vast and unstable Sahel region. The G5 Sahel leaders from Burkina Faso, Chad, Mali, Mauritania and Niger met Sunday to prepare for talks with Macron. Malian President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta told France 24 on Monday, quote, "We won't let Mali fall apart. We will assume our responsibilities." Apparently linking insecurity in the Sahel to the migrant row shaking European politics, he warned, if the Sahel falls to terrorist threats, the shores of the Mediterranean will be overwhelmed. Separately, the AU summit also decided to create a body based in the Moroccan capital of Rabat to better coordinate migration policies among African states and with Europe. Niger's President Muhammadu Isufu said, "These attacks should strengthen our determination to fight terrorism to ensure our population's security." He added that development was essential in the long run because poverty provides a fertile ground for terrorism. Mauritanian President Mohamed Ould Abdel Aziz, hosting the AU gathering of more than 40 heads of state and government, warned that Friday's attack on the Sahel Forces headquarters had exposed regional security failings. The Al-Qaeda-linked support group for Islam and Muslims, the main jihadist alliance in the Sahel, have claimed both Friday's attack on the G5 Sahel base and Sunday's on the French troops. The G5 aimed to have a total of 5,000 troops from the five nations but has faced funding problems and lack of equipment. It is intended to operate alongside France's 4,000 troops in the troubled tri-border area where Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso meet, and alongside the UN's 12,000-strong MINUSA peacekeeping operation in Mali. It is a plan as crazy as the situation is desperate, towing an iceberg from Antarctica to Cape Town to supply fresh water to a city in the grip of drought. Earlier this year, Cape Town came within weeks of shutting off all its taps and forcing residents to queue for water rations at public standpipes. The cutoff was narrowly averted as people scrambled to reduce their water usage and autumn rains saved the day. But the threat is expected to return to the coastal South African city again next year and beyond. Maverick salvage expert Nick Sloan, the brains behind the tow an iceberg scheme, said, "The idea sounds crazy, but if you look at the fine details, it is not so crazy." Sloan suggests wrapping the iceberg in a textile insulation skirt to stop it melting and using a supertanker and 2 tugboats to drag it 2,000 kilometers towards Cape Town using prevailing ocean currents.
We're not going to be able to tow that size. It's 100 million tons, but we just want to alter course. And alter course you can do. So you can alter course up to 30, 40 degrees and try and get it in all the different complex swirls. We just get into the next current system. It's like 2 train tracks. One's going to the Southern Ocean, one's coming to Cape Town.
The iceberg, carefully selected by drones and radiography scans, would be about 1 kilometer in length, 500 meters across and up to 250 meters deep, with a flat tabletop surface. Melted water could be gathered each day using collection channels and a milling machine to create ice slurry, producing 150 million liters of usable water every day for a year. Up next, U.S. congressional delegation arrives in Moscow. U.S. workers fear steel tariffs could be nailed in the coffin. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return in a moment.
Ama ng himagsikan, Supremo ng Katipunan, Pangulo ng Republika ng Katagalugan? Walang hindi nakaalam tungkol kay Andres Bonifacio. Malaki ang kinalaman ng Maynila sa buhay ni Andres Bonifacio dahil bukod sa dito siya ipinanganak, nag-aral at nagtatag ng katipunan, dito rin naganap ang mahalagang labanan na mismong si Bonifacio ang nanguna.
Kapag ang paksana ng kamatayan ni Gat Andres Bonifacio ang pag-uusapan, wala nang kinalaman dito ang Maynila dahil ang magkukwento sa atin ng mga huling sandali ng buhay ni Bonifacio ay ang lalawigan na ng Cavite.
Samahan niyo po kaming bisitahin ang bayan ng Maragondon sa lalawigan ng Cavite, ang bayan kung saan huling nakitang buhay si Gat Andres Bonifacio. Ngayong darating na linggo na yan, alas 6 ng gabi dito sa Net 25.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
Welcome back. You're watching Eagle News, Washington, D.C. Republicans' U.S. senators met with Russia's Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov on a rare visit to Moscow Tuesday ahead of a summit between the country's presidents Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. The U.S. delegation is in Russia until Thursday ahead of the summit planned in Helsinki on July 16, at a time of high tension between Russia and the West. Senator Richard Shelby said during Tuesday's meeting with Lavrov at the Russian Foreign Ministry, quote, "We recognize that the world is better off, I believe, if Russia and the U.S. have fewer tensions, get along a little better, maybe put aside some differences." Shelby said, quote, "We're hoping that coming out of the Putin-Trump meeting in Helsinki, it will be the beginning maybe of a new day," Shelby added. "We will have to wait and see." Lavrov, speaking in English, said he hoped that the U.S. Senator's visit will symbolize the resumption of relations between the U.S. and Russian parliaments. Lavrov also congratulated the delegation on the forthcoming U.S. Independence Day and wished them well in hosting the 2026 FIFA World Cup. Russia is currently hosting this year's tournament. The senators then met with representatives of the Duma, the lower house of the Russian parliament. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said there was no plan for the senators to meet Putin. He said the Kremlin was very satisfied that the senators were visiting Russia. Moscow and Washington announced a summit date after Trump's national security advisor John Bolton met with Putin in Moscow last week. The head-to-head between the U.S. and Russian leaders will follow a delicate NATO summit in Brussels. Trump has expressed scorn for the alliance and is expected to upbraid European NATO members for not spending enough on their own defenses. The Mid-Continent Nail Corporation in Poplar Bluff, Missouri, has already laid off 60 workers and is warning it could close by the end of summer, laying off hundreds more. It is among the first of many feared casualties to come as the trade war between U.S. and its allies heats up. The mood is tense at a nail factory in rural Missouri, where workers fear that steel tariffs imposed by President Donald Trump's administration could cost them their jobs. As giant spools of steel feed the manufacturing process, the men and women operating the whirring, screeching machines of the Mid-Continent Nail Corporation wonder if Trump himself would come to their rescue. It has been a successful business, employing some 500 people in the rural community of Poplar Bluff.
I mean, this is a big hit to our whole community. You know, how can it not worry you? Because this is a hit on not only our employees, but the suppliers and their families. Heck, even the convenience store across the street will be affected. You know, if this place closes, that's 500 jobs that, in a town this size, you got 500 people looking for jobs. It's not going to be easy to find for a lot of them.
The nail company is publicly raising the alarm, saying the tariffs on steel imports may put it out of business. They have had to raise prices to pay for more expensive steel and cannot compete with cheaper imported nails, completed products that face no tariffs at all.
It takes loose nails and collates them together using copper-coated welding wire with welding electrodes, puts them into a strip, then coils them into a coil where you could actually put them into a coil gun and use them in the fencing industry, the decking industry, the crating industry, the pallet industry, things of that nature.
Japan Summer Festival arrives in Tampa, Florida. That's next. Eagle News Washington, D.C. will return shortly.
Welcome to the garden. A world that brings you back to that natural, carefree feeling of joy and happiness. A place where art becomes your song to strengthen bonds. Creating your moments, kindling your passion, worth reliving over and over. A world that recaptures the value of life. Breathe. This is your world, your life, your garden.
Ano ang tunay na kahulugan ng tagumpay kay Miss Carmi Martin?
Ang tagumpay ko ay kung paano ko na ibibigay ang sarili ko sa Panginoon, na kahit single ako, happy ako. So yun, isa sa tagumpay. Tagumpay sa pamilya, sa Panginoon, at sa pakikipagkapwa-tao. Yung sa career, bonus po yun. Bonus Hi! Ito po si Carmi Martin. Abangan po ninyo ako ngayong Sabado sa RYTS. Rule Yourself to Success. Dito lang sa Net25.
Agila Balita, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, alas 12 ng tanghali hanggang 1:00 ng hapon.
This is Eagle News Washington, D.C. I am Sarah Nackman. ABC's Angela Corpus takes us to Tampa Natsumatsuri, or Japan Summer Festival. Take a look.
Hi everyone, it's Angelo. When people think of Japan, they'll most likely think of sushi, samurais, and sumo wrestling. But Japan is more than that. Japanese culture is an interesting culture that continues to evolve, which is why many people continue to admire this country and everything it has to offer. Which brings us to Asia Trends Japanese Summer Festival of 2018 here in Tampa, Florida. Japanese culture has stayed not only in Japan, but also throughout the whole world. Historically, their culture has origins from other neighboring countries like China and Korea. One interesting game played is goldfish scooping known as Kingyo Scoop. You have to scoop the goldfish using a poi, and if you catch it, you can keep it. But it's not easy as it sounds. The tool is made with thin washi paper that can easily break in the water. Kimonos and yukatas are traditional Japanese clothing. Various people were wearing them at the festival.
I thought it would be a good way to represent my culture, and I never get to wear this often, so I thought it would be a great occasion to wear it. I think that when you want to go to a Japanese festival, it's just my most beautiful kimono I think I have, and so I think it's a very important day because I never get to wear it. So I just think that it's a special day to be surrounded by people who understand kimono and yukata, so it's a good place.
This Japanese Summer Festival even has a way of gathering various people together.
I think that you never see like many festivals that bring people together with a certain culture, so I think it's very cool that you get to see people who all connect on one thing. I actually didn't expect so much, I guess, so I was surprised. This was more than I expected, so I don't know necessarily what I expected, but I surely expected a lot of people, and that's exactly what it is. special because it brings people together over culture. So bringing all races together to experience a beautiful culture is very admirable, and I don't really commonly see this rather than at a convention center, which is just cosplay. They have actual Japanese people teaching you and letting you try on yukata. It's very generous, I think, of a culture to let everyone experience.
So after experiencing such a unique event, people from all over come to support this Japanese festival. So go check out a festival happening in your area. I'm Angelo Corpuz, and I am always 1 with 25.
Thanks, Angelo. That is today's Eagle News Washington, D.C. Join us tomorrow for stories that matter to you. Visit our website at eaglenews.ph and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and also follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH. On behalf of Eagle News Washington, D.C., thank you for watching. I am Sarah Nachman. I am 1 with 25.